What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Motivation Within. And I have a special guest with me today, a long time friend, I guess you could say. And, he's traveling across country, making some memories, doing some pretty amazing things. Always idolized this guy because of the stuff that he does. And, I always looked up to him, even though he's a little bit younger than me, I guess you could say. But I'm not really going to spill the beans and nothing like that. I'm going to let him, introduce himself. But I wanted to bring him on just because I feel like his story needs to be heard. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pass it on over to you.
What's up, man? Thanks for having me on. First podcast that I've ever done. But yeah, my name is Johnathan Dove. I'm from a very, very small town in Georgia called Royston, Georgia. If you've never heard of it, it's actually famous because Ty Cobb actually lives there, or he was born there. And I believe he is buried there also. But I think he has a lot of ties to Royston. There's like a whole bunch of stuff dedicated to him. But yeah, so I grew up there. I graduated in high school in 2007, kind of wandered around Athens, Georgia, home of UGA, kind of wandered around UGA for a few years, and then decided to join the military. I was in the Air National Guard for 6 years. Part of those 6 years, almost 2.5 of those years I spent during COVID. That was a wild time, and that's a big part of my story and a big part of who I am today. A lot changed during that time, but yeah, that's a little bit about who I am.
That's what's up, man. So my thing, I guess, I'm firstly going to dive into the fact of like, what brings you to Vegas now?
So you say that as if, so I lived here a year ago for a year. After that, I moved back home, trying to get my bearings together again. Got kind of burned out with being in the fitness space because I was a fitness instructor, online fitness instructor, but I just kind of got burnt out with it. But went through that. And then while I was home, unfortunately, I had 2 deaths in the family, 2 people that meant a lot to me. My grandmother, my mom's mom, she passed away right before I moved back. And then at the end of the year, my grandfather passed away. But during that time, I was building something that I wanted to make an impact. And that's where I came up with this character that you see on my shirt. And it's kind of a tribute to my papa. So once he passed away, I tried to figure out how I was going to tie all these things together and how I could make an impact. And it kind of led me to where I am, where I'm coming back to Vegas. I'm doing a cross-country trip. Kind of doing this as a tribute to him. He was actually stationed in Alaska. He was in the military. He was in the 101st Airborne for 2 years. Because I think at the time, you only had to serve 2 years, whereas now, I think you have to serve like a minimum of 4 if you go active, 6 if you're guard. But yeah, he was stationed in Alaska. And I remember we would go on fishing trips all the time, and we would go to Huddle House. And during breakfast, before we'd go out fishing on our adventure, he would tell us about like his adventures when he was stationed in Alaska. He was telling us, as crazy as this sounds, he told us a story where he was going across like a frozen lake, and his tank, I think he said he was like a tank driver, whatever that MOS is. He was a tank driver. And at some point his tank broke through the ice, and like his whole tank was underwater. There was no way he could get out through the top of the tank. The only thing that was sticking out of the water was the gun, like the big long gun that's on the tank. And he told us He likes to tell fishing stories. So like, you're familiar with fishing stories. Like fishing, like I caught a fish, but it was like that big when it was actually like that big. Yeah. So he told us that the only thing that was sticking out of the water, and he was the only one on the inside of it. So the only thing that was sticking out of the water was the gun. And he said that he climbed out of the gun of the tank. And now I've researched the diameter of tank guns, and they're not that big. So I don't know. I'm just saying it could have been.
So you mean to tell me you questioned Papa? You questioned Papa?
Well, so no, because he said it so convincing that like we believed it. Like I believed it. Like
that's triple OG, man.
Like he did it. Like of course, like with a rope hooked up to it and just pulled it out. Like absolutely. So yeah, that was some of the adventure stories. And he would always go fishing while he was up there. So I just remember all these stories that he was telling me before we would go on our adventure to go fishing. And I just had this idea one day. I'm very like sporadic when it comes to just going off and doing things. Like when I moved to Vegas, I decided I was moving to Vegas. And then within a month, I was already out here. Yeah. So like I'm very sporadic. And so when I was home, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take a trip to Alaska. So I left Georgia about a week ago, and I've been here for right at a week, just coming to see friends, hang out with, some familiar faces before I really get on the road. Cause my next stop is Utah next week. And that's going to be like the first official place where I'm just going to go like observe and look around and hang out for maybe a week or two. And then slowly make my way up to Alaska.
That's amazing. That's really awesome, though. The relationship you and your grandfather had. I know he was like a really close man to you, and it's really awesome, as well as your grandmother. It's really awesome to see that because, I mentioned to you before that like I wasn't like I was close to my grandparents, but it was more of like the quiet, relationship. And it's cool to hear that your grandfather told you all these stories and stuff that you have to share, and that's really awesome. And yeah, I know that I said that what brings you to Vegas now because I know whenever we're like what was it like? Probably about a year or two, maybe 3 years ago, we were like working out in the gym. We were talking about it, and I'll never forget how we were talking about moving, and you were intrigued with Texas, and I was and my goals was like either like Orlando, Florida, Texas, Atlanta, or Vegas. And when I said Vegas, your eyes like that's a little too far. And then what got me was like not even 3 weeks later, he was like, "I'm moving to Vegas, bro," and I was like, "What?" And you came out here, man. So it's like, let alone like from the small town that we come from, which, you're from Hartwell. I was living in Canton, but I was from Carnesville.
Actually from Franklin County.
Franklin
County over.
True.
We moved to Hartwell. I think it was my sophomore year.
Okay. So you was originally from Franklin County. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I thought you always lived in Hartwell. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I mean, how did it make sense because we went to Franklin County.
I went to Royston Elementary School.
Oh, what? Yeah, bro. I feel bad for you, but I ain't gonna get on that though. I'm gonna stay off that way. But anyways, no offense to no one day. Anyways, but yeah, like so I kind of lost train of thought what we was talking about, but like so you were born like you. When did you move to Hartwell? Like how long have you guys lived in Hartwell?
I moved to Hartwell my sophomore year.
Okay, sophomore year. Yeah. And you still attended okay, County. Cool.
Yep. It's because we still had our same address in Franklin County because my dad had his screen printing business there. So we just used that address and just continued to go to Franklin County until I graduated high school. And a lot of reasons once I moved to Hartwell, a lot of my friends from church that went to Hartwell, they tried to recruit me to go to Hart County to play for the baseball team. And I was like, nah, y'all suck. Like I'm not moving to Hart County just to help you guys win against Franklin County. Like I'm not doing that to my boys. Not doing it.
I feel you. And so, okay. So on that subject, question on this one, where Dove is now, By the way, guys, I call him Dove, as in short for Johnathan Dove, because that's just something I feel like he's always been called. Where Dove is now, did you see Dove playing MLB ball in high school?
That's all I could think about.
Really?
Yeah. That's literally all I could think about.
And that's because I knew if someone asked me in high school about you, that's the first thing that popped in my head would be like, oh, bro played baseball. That was a baseball lover right there for sure. What happened there?
It's a touchy subject.
Oh, okay. We ain't gotta get on it.
So in 2007, I got a letter in the mail. And to this day, I don't know how they found me. I have no clue, but I got a letter in the mail saying that I was invited to the 2007 pre-draft. And I thought, okay, this is somebody's playing a joke on me. Like, it's a pre-draft. Like, you have the draft, but then you have a pre-draft. So I took the letter to my high school baseball coach, Coach Davis. If you're out there, you told me not to go. You wanted me to go to Truett McConnell, which, eventually I ended up going there. But anyway, Coach Davis. So I took this letter to Coach Davis, told him about it. He's like, it's kind of fishy. But anyway, I followed up with the letter. Yeah. My parents looked into it. And it was an official invite out to Marietta to go to this pre-draft. Well, it's kind of a cool story. And I haven't really talked about this much. Like, my family knows about it just because they were there and they experienced it. Yeah. But when I got to it was like a legit thing. We get there and there's like tons of people that are there. There's probably, I want to say there was probably 10 high school kids, me being one of the high school kids. And it was like, before we graduated high school. But it was right after baseball season, but before we actually graduated. So probably like April. I think it was April of 2007. Get there, do the warm-ups, and I'm seeing like there's scouts there. Like, there's tons of scouts there, tons of players, mostly a lot of like JUCO kids that are just like, they're going to like a 2-year school, hoping to get drafted like their first year in college. And there were some kids who have already played out their 4 years at like a D1 school, but are hoping to get drafted. So they get invited to this camp. So we get there, and before we start, the coach, it's actually, if you're familiar with baseball, it's the guy who's putting it on was Antonio Grissom, and he's actually brothers of Marquise Grissom. And if you're familiar with baseball, you know exactly who Marquise Grissom is. So he tells us, he says, hey, we're going to watch you perform. After you perform, if we walk up to you, we're either going to tell you, good job. Let's see, how did it go? If we walk up to you, we're going to talk to you and talk about sending you either to a college or sign you to a contract if we walk up to you. Okay. And so in our heads, we're waiting on one of the scouts to walk up to us. So, we have this thought when we're sitting there like trying to perform as best as possible. And I was there to pitch. So I didn't do anything but pitch. And I was the last pitcher of the day to pitch. So I had to wait. I want to say it was probably like 3 or 4 hours before I even got to do anything. So I'm up on the mound, doing my thing. I have like 2 strikeouts, 3 or 4 ground balls to third and short. And then this lefty comes up to bat. I hate pitching to lefties because I was a sidearm pitcher, and the ball would just, if I messed up, the ball was just going to tail right into the batter's like sweet spot, and a lefty was just going to drive it to left field every time. And what happened? This kid freaking crushed this ball to left field. And I was like, oh my goodness. And that was the only hit that I gave up. And so he was like, all right, your time's up. Like that's it.
That's it.
So I'm walking off the mound and I've got, I'm kind of like pissed off because I gave up the one and only hit of the day. And it was to like my weakness to a lefty.
Yeah.
So I'm walking off, cross over the third base foul line, and I'm walking with my head down, which to anybody out there, don't walk off the field with your head down because that just gives a perspective that it's not a good look. So walk off the field with confidence, even though you messed up, just knowing that you're going to get back out there and perform better next time.
Preach.
So that was a lesson that I learned. So anyway, I cross over the foul line, my head's down. All of a sudden I look up and I see this person walking towards me. And like on the inside, I'm just getting like freaking excited because all I remember was if we walk up to you, that's a good sign. And I'm just thinking, bro, like, is this guy about to sign me to like a professional contract? And I'm just like sitting there, like shaking inside, just like nervous. And like, I just stopped dead in my tracks as Antonio Grissom is walking up to me. And I'm like, oh boy, here we go. So he's talking to me and he's like, hey man, what's your story? Like, are you high school, college? And I tell him my whole spiel. I got this letter. I was in high school. And he said, all right. He said, well, I love what I saw out there, but I don't think you're quite ready for a contract yet. But I have really good connections down in Florida and I want to send you to a college down there. And I was like, oh, okay. So good news is better than no news, right? So I see my family like in the corner of my eye, standing at the gate, waiting for me to walk out. And so, yeah, I get this news and, here I am about to graduate high school, knowing that I'm going to Florida to play baseball at a JUCO college. Yeah. So that's kind of like, that was my identity. That was who I was at that time. Yeah. And that's the only thing I knew who I was. I was a baseball player. Like that's what I identified as.
Yeah. I understand that one completely because that's what I've seen you as. Like I said, baseball was your thing. And the reason why I asked that is like to see you where you're at now, traveling the world, cross country, and, helping people with fitness like you have and stuff like that too. It's like, that's why I was like just wondering, like, you were the baseball king back in the day, so, but I mean, that's a pretty interesting story. Like, so did you go to college?
I did.
You did?
Yep.
Word.
I went down there for one semester. So you take a kid right out of high school who has been given everything that they need. They don't really have a work ethic. And they've never been away from home.
This was before Military Dove.
This was before Military Dove. Okay. So you take this kid who his whole identity is nothing but baseball, but has no life skills. Like I would literally, like in high school as a senior, I would either ask my girlfriend or my mom to call and make appointments for me.
I've been there.
That was who I was. Like I just didn't have I think I lacked the confidence to do it myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I also knew that other people would do it for me.
Yeah.
So I would just be like, hey, can you do this for me? And they would, just because they were the loving parents and the loving girlfriend, they did it for me.
Yeah.
And that was, so I carried that Johnathan Dove to a different state, 6 hours away, being surrounded by a group of guys that were from all over the world that didn't have that problem.
Very uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable. Yeah. And I'm kind of a quiet person just in general. So it was tough. It was extremely tough. And while I was down there, I didn't really fit in. I just had a hard time fitting in because it was a rough crowd. Like we were in the freshman house. So in the freshman house, you had, let's see, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There were 7 of us in this one house. And bro, in the backyard when we get down. So my whole family, we go down there. My girlfriend, we go down there and we meet the landlord. The landlord says, you know, she's showing us around the property and she said, whatever you do, do not have a pet or do not pass out outside. And so we're like, why? And she said, well, walk over here and I'll show you. So we walk to the edge of the property and there's like a stream going like around the property, like a stream of water. And she looks down and she said, you see those alligators that are down there? She said, that's why you don't go to sleep around here outside. Literally behind the house, there was like thousands of acres of just swampland and just nothing but alligators everywhere.
Wow.
Funny story. We had this kid from Ocala, Florida. Like this dude, absolutely crazy. I remember, like, this is how crazy this is. We would go to practice, but before we'd go to practice, this kid would smoke like 6 or 7 cigarettes. Then we'd go to practice. Oh, and well, I'm not going to say that. So we would go to practice. We'd practice all day long. And then after practice, we'd always do a town run, like especially the pitchers. He was a pitcher also. This kid would run. I think the town run was like a 3-mile loop from the baseball field into town and back, a 3-mile loop. He would smoke everybody. He would beat everybody there. And this kid is like a chain smoker. Like, bro, like how are you doing this? I didn't understand. But even crazier than that, he's from Ocala. And if anybody out there is from Ocala, you'll know. It's kind of like somebody being from Elbert County, probably, just like crazy. Like this kid, once he found out there were alligators in the backyard, he's like, all right, let's go out there and let's wrestle some alligators. Bro, this dude took off his boots. He got down in like some short shorts and he found an alligator. And so like there's an embankment, probably like 2 feet above the water. And he spotted an alligator and he jumped from the embankment on top of this alligator and tried to wrestle this alligator. It was as competitive as this baseball team was, because it was like a cutthroat kind of thing. Yeah. It's like you're trying to beat each other out in a position. So I'm just sitting back over here going like, yeah, go ahead, get hurt. That just bumps me up one more person. Like if you get hurt, it's probably going to help me be able to pitch in like the next game. So that's like how competitive it was. And kind of going back to the beginning, that's what I didn't like about it. It was that competitive and it wasn't fun anymore for me. And so it was like, we're trying to beat each other out instead of working as a team to like support each other. And that was the biggest thing that I didn't like about it. And so it got worse kind of like towards the end of the year. And so I was just like, man, I'm tired of this. Like, it's not worth, I don't like this atmosphere. So I just packed everything up and came back home.
Well, that's what's up. I got you. I mean, I understand completely. For the record, guy jumping in there with alligators, you know, I don't really think he's going to lose. I'm just going to be honest with you. That's just, I'm just saying, man. But fast forward, you know, to what triggered you to join the military? Like coming from you shot off and you went to college. It wasn't your thing. You wasn't feeling it. Baseball was your life. You know what I'm saying? And then you realize like, okay, baseball is in my life. And then now you shoot back home and then randomly out of nowhere, Dove's off to the military. Like what triggered that? What pushed that?
Yeah. So there was a little bit of, a couple years in between that. Once I came back home, I tried to go to a local college, talking back to like Coach Davis, so eventually I went to Truett McConnell, had a very bad experience there. It just wasn't at the level of baseball that I was used to playing to and that I knew that was going to get me to that next level. So again, I quit baseball. And I started noticing that there was a pattern being developed. Like during anything that was tough, I would quit. It's like, all right, well, this isn't for me. I'm quitting. So I quit college. And then from like 2009 to 2016, I moved to Athens and just kind of went from job to job and partied. Oh, we did some partying in Athens,
Georgia.
Georgia. A home of the dogs. Like we like literally lived 10 minutes from downtown. So like me and a buddy of mine, Matt, and a few other friends, we lived in this house, and it would be nothing to go downtown at midnight, stay out till 2 a.m., get hammered, and get up the next morning at 6 o'clock and go work at UGA grounds crew. Cause I was working for the grounds crew then at UGA. And like, we would just get up hungover and go into work, cut grass all day, come back home and just crash until the next day. Like it was nothing for us to do that. So I did that for probably 5 years. Yeah, 5 years. And then 2016, actually it was the winter of 2015. I'll never forget this. We were on a family ski trip, and it was my older brother, Chris, my younger brother, Landon, and me. And we were all three on this chairlift going up to the top of the mountain. And I remember telling them that, hey, I'm joining the military. And they both just died laughing, because if you would have known me in high school, I was not like I would never, like, that is the last thing you would think Johnathan Dove was going to do, is join the military. Like, just like you knowing me as like the baseball person, like I'm not the military person. I'm the last one who's going to do that. So when I said that, they just died laughing. And I was like, no, I'm serious. I was like, I'm tired of just not knowing what I'm going to be when I grow up. Just not going in a direction, like not having a purpose. And that's what it was. Like I did not have any kind of purpose those 5 years. So they kind of laughed it off, and I kind of said it as in like, I'm going to do it, but I'm not sure I'm going to do it. Yeah. But then 5 months later, I went to the recruiter and I said, hey, I want to sign up for the military. And then I wanted to get into like the medical field, because then I wanted to be a nurse. I don't know what I was thinking, because I'm not that smart to be a nurse. I was wanting to go the nursing route. So I signed up to be in the medical field in the military, and I signed up, went off to training, and 6 years later.
6 years later. So was there any doubt or any regret of like, man, why did I do this?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not? Not even through basic training?
Nope. Well, basic was hard.
I'm talking about like the mindset of like, oh man, why did I do this? But knowing you're still going to push through type deal.
Okay. So if I can say this without crying. Before I went to basic, the day before I left to go to basic, I didn't want to do anything, but my papa wanted me to go. He wanted me to go fishing with him. And I knew what that consisted of. Just like every time. I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, go to Waffle House, actually get up 3 o'clock in the morning, drive to his house, be at his house by 4, leave his house, be at Huddle House by 5, tell those stories, and then be on the water by 7. So it was a really early day every time we would go fishing. And the next day I had to get up and go to the airport. So I didn't really get much sleep the day before I had to fly out. And so not having a lot of sleep, not eating really healthy food, although the catfish that he cooked was just the best catfish you would ever eat. The best you could ever eat. With all that, all those components mixed together, your body's like shutting down. So all that happens. We finish out the day. We get back to his house, and I've never seen him cry before. And he thought I was going to be gone for years. I think because he just didn't understand how the guard worked. But I've never heard him say that he loved anybody. It's just something that he didn't say. He was like just a very strong person. And he never hugged me like before that. But that day we got back and he knew that I was leaving the next day. He gave me a hug. And he said that he loved me. And I'm pretty sure I saw him kind of tearing up a little bit, but he held it together. And then I went home, got ready for basic the next day. So long story short, I fly out to Texas. And the experience that I had in basic, especially like the first 2 weeks, was I was sick. And that kind of leading back was, did I ever like have second thoughts while I was there? Yeah. And the only reason why I had second thoughts is because I didn't think I could make it through it because of how I was feeling, because I was sick. They put me on bed rest for 2 or 3 days. And I was sick. I was reevaluating my decision, and I thought I just ready to go home. But kind of going back to all the previous like stories that I've had, I'm just used to quitting and giving up. But while I was laying in bed, I thought, get your shit together. Like you're not quitting this. Like this is the one thing that you're going to stick with. And so I stuck with it. Probably like that 3rd week, things started to kind of get a little bit better. It's not like it got like easy by any means, because it's not meant to be easy. We had a lot of people quit. I think we started off with like 63 people and ended up with like mid 40s. So there is like a drop off point where people just can't handle it. And I thought, I'm not going to be that person. Like this is something that I'm dedicating this time to in my life to. And like, I told myself that I'm not giving up. I'm not going home. This is the one thing that I'm sticking with.
Stuck it out to the end. That's what's up, man. That's a really touching and awesome story, actually. And I've always wondered, and so, I've said multiple times, like, like I idolize how your movement and the things you've done. It's like you get out and then like, like I said, you've like done with the fitness thing and stuff like that. So it's like after the military, did you feel like you had it figured out as if like, which way you was going to go from there? Or was it still like what now type deal?
Yeah. So I actually had this conversation with a friend of mine once I got out. So just kind of backtracking a little bit. My last 2 years in the military, last 2.5 years, I was on COVID orders. And that's when I started picking up, the whole fitness training thing. So like I was working out every single day, and coworkers, they were noticing. And like when you're in scrubs, it's hard to kind of notice, a big jack guy. Especially when you're kind of like the minority working around a whole bunch of women. And you can kind of figure how that goes. Um, so yeah, I mean, all of the coworkers, they, you would have these conversations with them and they would want to lose weight because summertime was coming up. And so I was like, okay, well, I have all this knowledge that I can give to these people to help them. So that's when I got my certification through NASM, which, is, if you know what you're doing, you know what you're doing. I don't necessarily think you have to have a certification.
It looks good.
But it looks good, I guess. Anyway, so yeah, that's when my fitness business started taking off. Like all these nurses were coming up to me and they were asking me how much do I charge for doing just online training. Like I would literally just figure out what goals they had and then write them a custom plan based off of their goals. And I remember I started off charging like $150. And then a friend of mine in the military, she asked me, she said, how much are you charging these people for their fitness plans? And I said, oh, I'm charging $150. And I said, that's a lot of money. I can't believe they're paying that. And so like these people are paying that left and right. And we were in Atlanta. So we were like these people were doing really well for themselves. And she said, you need to charge more. And I was like, whoa, I need to charge more than $150 a month for online training. And she said, yeah. She said the average fitness coach charges $400 a month. And I said, okay, there's no way I'm going to charge $400 a month for this knowledge that I have to help these people. And she said, no, you need to do it. So literally the next day, this lady come up to me and she said, hey, I heard you're training some of the coworkers. What do you charge? And I said, $400. And she said, okay, when can I sign up? I said, right now. She sent me $400. She said, when can I get the plan? And I said, well, I'm going to send you some questions, fill out the form, and I'll send you a plan based off of your goals. The next person came up to me, $450. Next person, $500. I got all the way up to $600. And at $600, I was like, okay, I'm not charging any more than $600 because I feel like I'm stealing these people's money, but they were getting results. So I was like, okay, like I kept hearing these people, if they have the money, like they're going to pay it.
And you're offering value. You got to think about that, bro. If you're changing these people's lives, you think $600 is a lot to change somebody's life? No.
That was the thing. And I heard this recently and it's like, it's like the saying was something about, if you want to make a lot of money, solve rich people problems. And like, it makes a lot of sense. So I was literally around a bunch of people who made really good money and throwing $600 out a month for something that really meant a lot to them. They probably would have paid $1,000. They literally probably would have paid $1,000. So yeah, that's how all this got started. Saved a whole bunch of money while I was on COVID orders, stashed it because I knew I was, like I said, talked about Texas because I thought I was going to go to Texas. Literally thought I was going to go to Texas because Alpha Land had opened up and I was talking to the head trainer there at the last end of my COVID orders and supposed to set up an interview. He never got back to me. Whatever. All right. I'm going to Vegas because another friend of mine from the military, she had just moved to Vegas and she said, hey, you need to come out here. And I was like, why do I need to come out there? Like, what's in Vegas? And she had just started getting into photography, and I just started the fitness stuff. And I thought, okay, somehow we can work together to help our businesses grow. So I knew nobody in Texas, but I knew her in Vegas. So I was like, okay, it only makes sense for me to move to Vegas. So I got off of orders, and right as I was getting off of orders, that's when my contract in the military was coming up. Yeah. So it kind of worked out perfect to where I got off orders, got out of the military, and then moved to Vegas.
Okay. So yeah, so you get out to Vegas. I remember talking to you, you had a lot of opportunity out here too. Like with one of the gyms out here, I remember you mentioning that you was about to lock that in, seal that in. And then I remember you hitting me up saying the whole Texas thing. And then I could have swore I heard you did mention traveling and getting you something to start camping out of also. And fast forward, it's like whenever me and my family, we came out this way, and it's like as soon as we touched down out here, and it's like, oh man, congratulations, this, that, and the other. And a couple weeks in, or even maybe a couple months, you are heading back, right? And the thing that got me was whenever you were heading back, it's like, I'm gonna let you tell your story. But what got me the most is it's like, I don't want to spill the beans too much myself because it's your story, but it's like it took you being here to realize what you had back home. And I thought that was really amazing because you come from an amazing family. Your mom's a sweetheart, your dad's awesome, your family, all your brothers are cool. I know all your family, like they're all amazing. And I feel like you have a very beautiful family that is doing really big things. That's how I look at them. They're doing really big things, and it meant a lot for me to hear that, it took moving here for you to say that you realize like, home is just like, you got a family that's like doing it, it's right in front of you what you need to do, and because they're already doing it. So it's like, you got something to move from. But I'm gonna let you tell your story. It's like, you were here for a little while, you end up going back, and then,
Yeah. So I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My mom, she's a broker in real estate. My dad owns a screen printing company. I think my dad's been doing screen printing for, I believe, how old am I? 35, 36 years. My mom's been doing real estate for, I think, almost 20 years. So I come from a very, very smart family. I come from a very entrepreneur family. But, when you're in that environment and it's your parents, you don't really think about it in the moment. So yeah, I moved to Vegas, and I was around a bunch of what I'll say is people who are wanting to be entrepreneurs. They're trying to build a name for themselves, and they're only in the beginning stage of being an entrepreneur. And they're people that are my age. So I kind of got wrapped up into that. And it's kind of funny thinking back on it now, because it's like, here I am around my family who's been doing this for 10, 15, 20 years. And then I try to go off and do my own thing to try to learn from people who have only been doing it for a year.
Yeah.
So like, even now I'm thinking back on it and I'm like, that was so dumb. Like, why did I do that? But I was trying to get into
an area that wasn't.
I think I was trying to get into a different environment, because it's kind of like going back to the military. I went into the military because I didn't really have a purpose. And I love meeting new people. Like I really do. As introverted as I am, I love meeting new people. And I think that was the whole point in me coming to a different area. Did I meet new people? Absolutely. I got into a group of people who were doing things on their own, and they were just coming from different backgrounds. And I kind of got wrapped up in, I don't know, it was fun in the beginning, and it was all what I felt like a really good friendship. But the more things played out, the more I'll just say things didn't work out. There were people who I thought kind of had my back and were friends with me because we were all trying to help each other. But in the end, it was just all talk. And I hate to talk bad about people, but if you're in an environment where you have a very supportive family or very supportive friends, instead of removing yourself, sometimes it may take removing yourself from that to see what you have, which was my case. And so once I realized, kind of what was going on, because over time things played out, and I was seeking advice from people back home and from friends that were out here. And the more I've kind of put boundaries on my time that I was given to these people, the more I started seeing what was going on, and the more they started to distance themselves from me, because these people, they didn't respect my time, and then I got to realize they just didn't respect me as a friend and what I was trying to do for them. So I realized that. I moved back home, and I thought, my parents, they have all this knowledge. They're who I look up to. I have a very, very, very supportive family, a very knowledgeable family when it comes to business. And I didn't kind of realize that mainly until now, but I realized that a little bit once I got back home, and I thought, this is everything I need to learn from is my family. And so, yeah, just kind of opened my mind up a little bit more. And to people who may be listening, you're the same person, no matter if you're in the small town that you're in or if you're in a bigger town, you're going to be the same person. But what helps is getting around the right people to learn from. And that is the biggest thing. People are like, oh, I'm going to be a different person once I move to a different town. I'm going to be more successful. No, not necessarily. It really boils down to the support and the true friendship that you have around you. And that's what, I didn't really realize that until I moved back home.
That's what's up, man. That's, and reason why I wanted you to tell the story, because I think that really means a lot. And I think a lot of people really need to hear stuff like that, because, I myself, it's like, when I moved out here, I thought, oh yeah, there's a part of me going to be a different person. But the majority of it that really brought me was what you said on the last part about connecting and meeting and getting around the right people and learning stuff. Me learning stuff on behalf that I couldn't learn back home, because, I didn't have, the areas that you came from as far as like the entrepreneurship, where the family, your mom and your dad and stuff like that. And, for the record, shout out to moms, I do want to say, because she did help, my wife, as far as selling their house and making it possible for us to, making it possible for us to get out here. So, if you see this, moms, thank you so much, because you made, dreams become reality. So I got to say that. But it's just one of them things where I really think that's really cool, though, man. It's like, you went to a bigger city, because we come from a small town. I tell everybody that I speak to down here, I'm just like, a population of 700 people, where I stayed, and they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, culture shock. I was like, but we always think that we need to be somewhere else in order to grow. And sometimes I feel like it does help, because I feel like me is helping and you it helped as well, even though it helped you grow into the direction where you needed to go back to understand, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you still got growth out of it. You still also got knowledge out of it. And I think that's really awesome. So it's like, now you're back in Georgia, and but now you're traveling across the country, visiting these places and stuff like that. And like how you said that, like you really have these sporadic moments where you just kind of just, pick up, take off, or do this or do that. Do you see yourself traveling for a while, like a while, or like what do you think is going to happen out of this whole cross country type vibe thing?
Yeah, so there's tons of places that I want to go to, but the ultimate destination is Alaska. I'm kind of giving myself 3 months to get there, which is kind of a long time, but I think it's plenty of time to see, some of the places that I want to see, visit some of the fishing spots that I want to go to, just to kind of like, because my papa, that's all we did. Like we fished all the freaking time. Let me back up. He fished every single day, literally every single day. Once he retired from owning chicken houses, he literally fished every single day. And if you wanted to go with him, all you had to do, you didn't even have to call him. All you'd have to do is just show up at his house at 4:00 in the morning, and you could get in the truck with him, ride to Huddle House, eat breakfast, and get on the river by 7:00. So he fished every single day. And so him and my dad, they're the two who got me into fishing. And so that's one of the things that I want to do on my trip, hit up as many fishing holes or streams or rivers that I can on my way up. And so, yeah, I think 3 months is a good enough time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
What gets me is like you said fishing. What's wild is like my grandparents fished like crazy. I remember fishing with my grandma and stuff like that too. And I remember a Huddle House was a spot. And it's like with the older generation, man, it's like, I ain't knocking on no Huddle House, you know what I'm saying? I love it. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, or Waffle House. It's like, you say fishing, you say Waffle House, it just reminds me of my grandparents too, because they love fishing and they love going to Waffle House.
I think it might be a Southern thing.
It's got to be. Yeah. But like the whole fishing thing, I mean, man, we got ponds everywhere. You already know, so it don't take nothing. But then and we were talking about it earlier, it's like me, I want to go trout fishing. Mm-hmm. I've never done that, but like catfishing, bass fishing, man, I did that all my childhood and loved every bit of it. But yeah, man, it's awesome that you sit here, you're traveling country, doing these things, and just kind of just soaking up. That's another thing I think is really awesome on my part to see you do these things too, because you got a lot of people on social media that's like pretty much flexing, pretending to do things or be things that they're not and things like that. And you got all these people looking up to them and they're not really doing anything. They're living in their mom's basement half the time. And I hate to say it, but that's just the truth. But it's like knowing you and seeing what you're doing, it's like it's really awesome, because I've always said that I wanted to like not be on the opposite side of the screen looking at a place wishing I could be there. I want to be the person recording it and doing it. And you're actually out there doing it. So I salute you, because that's really awesome, bro. Because it's like people talk about wanting to do it, but nobody ever does. And now you're going to be able to say you did. Yeah. Travel cross country twice.
Yeah. Twice.
Right?
Yeah. It was that drive back out here. God, brought back so many memories. It took forever to get out here. I think it was like 3 days. I was like, geez, am I ever going to get there?
Bro, on our ride out here, remind you, I'm driving a 26-foot U-Haul and pulling the Lexus, right? So my thing is, I told myself, if we ever decided to go anywhere else, I am getting some pods, because I am not doing this, and I'm flying to wherever and throwing away half of the stuff, because that was a crucial 3 days. But what was so cool, though, about it is the climate change you go through. Mm-hmm. Because we went through, it was hot, then it was snowing, then it was hot again, and then it literally was an ice storm where they said we might have to stop, but we had to stay overnight because the fact is like we ain't got chains. I was like, what just happened? Like I'm so confused, but it was so cool to witness something like that. It's just something I don't know. It's just, I thought it was really cool. And I always told
it gives you a different perspective on how different parts of the world is. That's one thing I learned in the military, and that's one thing that I'm grateful for, is I didn't really start traveling until the military. There was one experience, and this experience changed my life. It literally changed the way I looked at the world. And it made me a little more outgoing, It was a trip with a friend of mine. His family has a homestead in, where is it? It's in Montana, like the crazy mountains of Montana. They have a homestead because, like, in the Homestead Act, you travel to a place and you claim this land. That's what his, like, I think it was like his great grandparents did. They traveled to Montana, found this location in the crazy mountains. And I remember my first trip out there, it was the first time I've ever flown on a plane, first time I've ever left Georgia. It was a totally different perspective, and it was the first thing that I ever did on my own, like without my family. And so, like, I had to open up a little bit. I had to experience things without people telling me, oh, don't do this. Oh, yes, it's okay, you can do that. I had to do whatever I thought was best for me in the time. And, like, we're out there camping in the woods for, like, I think the first time we went, it was probably a week long in the woods. No cell service, no nothing. Like, we literally, all we did, the food that we ate, we bought potatoes from the local, like, country store before we headed up. And then once we got there, we ate all the fish, all the trout that we could catch. Like, that was our food. Like, if we didn't catch any trout, we weren't eating any kind of meat. All we had was meat that we caught from the fish and the potatoes that we bought from the store. That's literally the only thing.
Is trout good?
Oh, it's amazing. It is absolutely amazing. If we go, like, I'll have to, like, bro, we've got to go. Like, we have to go trout fishing.
Oh, it's going to happen.
It is so
It's got to
fun.
happen.
It's so fun. Trout is so good.
Wait a minute. So we're going to catch them and eat?
Oh, yeah. We're going to eat there. Yeah.
Like, catch them and eat them?
Yeah. I don't do this whole, like, catch and throw back. Like, no, I'm going there.
I'm just saying, man. I don't know how to scan a fish. Oh, scan. Scale? Skin? Yeah.
Actually, I think we can. With trout, we don't have to skin. We skin catfish. You got to skin catfish, but with trout, you can just fillet them up and eat the fillets.
Eat the skin?
Yeah, bro, it's good. I promise. The best thing, buddy of mine, he taught me. Like, if we catch a big enough trout, we can fillet it, have 2 fillets, and then the backbone of the trout, we can actually fry it too. And the meat that's around the bones is the best meat you will ever taste in your life.
What?
One thing
So you eat the bones?
No. Oh. The meat around the bones.
Yeah.
The meat around the backbone of the fish.
You're cooking the meat around the bones.
You're cooking the meat around the bones.
Okay.
So one thing that I'm so proud of, and it's just the coolest thing that I taught my papa, we went fishing and we caught a pretty big catfish. He usually likes to catch the smaller catfish because they clean better, they eat better, and they just don't take a lot of time to prepare it to eat. Well, we caught this one gigantic catfish, and he wanted to throw it back. And I said, no. Let's keep it. Let's keep this. I said, trust me. Let's keep it. And this was after my trip to Montana that a buddy of mine taught me this way to cook catfish, or any kind of fish, really. So we kept the fish. I cleaned it, filleted it, because with the big catfish you can fillet them. And then I said, he went to throw the backbone, like, in the water, and I said, no, let's keep it. Like, let's keep this. He said, we're not keeping this. I said, Papa, trust me, we have to keep this. And my dad, he was with us too, and he said, trust him. Let's keep it. So he kept it, and we get back to the riverbank, and we would always cook fish before we headed back home. That was just his thing. And he had cantaloupe. Oh my God, like, cantaloupe is so good with catfish. I don't know what the combination is, but it's just so good.
Like chicken and beer.
Just like chicken and beer. Just like chicken and beer. So he seasoned the no, actually, I said, let's don't season it. He said, what? He said, gotta season it. I was like, no. I said, trust me. My dad looks over, trust him. And so he puts it in the pot to boil it, gets it out, and there's like little bitty pieces of meat around the bone.
Yeah.
And he kind of looks at me kind of like I'm crazy. And I said, just take a bite. So he took a bite and he ate that whole catfish.
Wow. Like,
all the meat behind the bones. He was like, this is some of the best meat I've ever had in my life. It's like, I told you, it's good. I don't know what it is.
Well, let me guess. He looks over at your dad and he's like, he told you.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was one. And I remember my papa, he would tell all of his friends that he would take fishing with him, because these people would go back and tell my dad, hey, your dad said that, we got to keep these big catfish and we got to fry them because it's some of the best meat. He said, I didn't believe it. When he told me that we were going to fry this backbone in the pot, he said, I didn't believe him, but it's some of the best meat I've ever had in my life. And he said, yeah, Johnathan taught him how to do that. So that's like something that I'm kind of proud of.
That's awesome. So it's like you're boiling the bones of fish.
Yeah, you're kind of like frying the backbone and any of the meat, just like a steak.
Yeah.
If you have like a steak with the bone in, usually the best meat is
there on the bone.
Right there on the bone.
Okay.
Same thing.
Yeah, true. Yeah. That's what's up. Okay. Yeah. That's awesome, man. I got to try it now.
Yeah, now we got to go.
Well, we're going. It's happening for sure. And so just so the people watching and that see this, because you explained to me yesterday about it, and I just felt like it was really cool to hear, especially whenever you said something to me earlier today when we were talking about like, we was talking about running and exercising. I was like, bro, whenever I get out there and I'm running, I'm like, I'm gumping it. Like, I'm just running, dude. And it's like, when I'm running, I literally just be thinking in my head that just like, for some reason, just gives me like fuel. Is like, I think about my family. I think about if the world comes to an end. I think about surviving. I think about like all these things, like, just like, what if there was no electricity? There was no gas to get in your vehicles and go where you need to. There was no food. Like, how will we survive and things like that? And you was like, the way I explained it, and when I said it, you said, and you pointed at your chest, it's like, that's what this is about. So to the people watching and the people to understand, give us some insight of what the logos you're rocking right now mean and what you're really shooting for. Because I would love for anybody to see this to know, like as far as anybody that has like on my subscribers or just random, I would just love for everybody to see it, because what you're pushing there, I think is an awesome thing in my perspective and me seeing myself and hearing the background to it. So I think a lot of people should hear it that way. It can get out there, man.
Yeah. So as you remember in the beginning of the podcast, I talked about my papa being in the 101st Airborne.
Yeah.
I didn't really know this until I think it was like the first time he had ever went to the hospital. But I remember, coming from working in the hospital, I walk into the hospital like confident, like, where's my papa? Like, where is he at? So I'm walking in and I'm walking up to the front desk and I'm like, hey, I'm here to see Buddy Dove. And they kind of look at me kind of funny. And my parents are just walking up behind me and they're like, he means James. And I'm like, who is James? I was like, this was probably like 2 or 3 years ago. I'm like, who is James? So I never knew his first name was James, because all of his friends, all of his family, we would always call him, well, they would call him Buddy. I would call him Papa. But that's what everybody knew him as. Buddy. They knew him as Buddy Dove. And he was also a big entrepreneur. So it runs in the family. He owned a conversion van company and he owned chicken houses. So like all the entrepreneur stuff just kind of flowed down generation after generation. So yeah, his name was Buddy. And to kind of backtrack a little more, I had an idea of this character probably, 2 or 3 years ago. I didn't really know what to call him at the time. And this was way before, my papa, got sick. And so I got to thinking, okay, my papa, he was in the Army. And in the Army, you have a battle buddy. It's somebody that sticks with you everywhere you go, just to like keep an eye out, just to make sure that you're holding each other accountable. That's the purpose of a battle buddy. You're holding each other accountable. In the Air Force, we have a wingman, which, kind of don't really tie in. So everything is kind of weird. Battle buddy, wingman doesn't fit. Okay, you have your battle buddy. So fast forward, I had someone design this. I gave this person an idea of exactly what I was looking for. He designed it, and I thought, okay, I want his name to have battle in it. And he's a dove, obviously. So I'm just going to name him Battle Dove. And so I was like, okay, this is, it kind of makes sense. Battle Buddy, Battle Dove. Awesome. I came up with a feathered logo, BD for his initials, put stars around it, and the stars that are around it, it's actually, I tried to go with 12 stars, but 12 stars didn't look good. So in the significance of 12, that was my baseball number growing up. I was number 12. And my older brother, his number was 12, and I kind of stole it from him, if I'm being honest. I kind of stole it from him because I still do. I look up to my older brother, and I was like, okay, I'm going to be number 12. He's already kind of retired the number, got out of high school, and so I became number 12 in baseball. And then my younger brother, Landon, he was the flip of it. He was the reverse. So he was 21. And so I was like, okay, this logo has got BD in it. I think that's a cool name. I put 12 stars. 12 stars didn't look right just to the eye visually. So I was like, let me put 21 stars. So I put 21 stars, and I was like, okay, this is perfect. Like, to me, visually, it looks cool. So that's kind of like a dedication, like tribute kind of thing to my younger brother.
Yeah.
It's 21 stars. So fast forward, my papa passed away. And then one day I'm sitting working on like stories for this character for like blog posts and everything. And all of a sudden it hit me. I thought, okay, why didn't I think about this before? I have Battle Dove, I have BD, and then I have Buddy Dove, BD. I was like, what are the odds this coming together?
At the beginning of the story, I thought that's where it was going to lead. I'll be honest with you. I was like, BD. I was like, why didn't it just be Buddy Dove?
Yep. So, yeah, and I didn't want to name the character Buddy Dove, but it just happened to work out. Battle Dove and Buddy Dove, the initials just happened to be the same, obviously. And so that's where I came up with the name. And this is just a tribute to my papa. And the whole purpose behind it is to create adventure stories that have a lot of the stories that he told us at Huddle House. So I'm going to implement a lot of the stories that he told us into the blog posts, the books, eventually animation, because I would love to have like an animated version of this character turned into like a cartoon. But the whole principle behind it is just all the attributes and all what my papa stood for, like the leader, the provider, the disciplinary person of the family, of his family, and the things and the lessons that he taught us in Huddle House. Like, that's what I want this person to be known as. That is exactly what I want this to be known as.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. And it's like, I just wanted them to hear that because it's not a gimmick. It has a lot of meaning behind it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think that's really cool, man, for sure. And I mean, from where we started and from where we're going and everything, like where we're at right now, it's like your story is like really inspirational. I don't know if you're aware of that, but like it really is. It's like, because it's like hearing your story and hearing some of the stuff that's going on and hearing some of the stuff that you went through and things like that. It's also to a sense where you tried baseball, you bounced back. You did the military, like you said out of your own mouth, but a lot of people can't even man up to say. It's like you would pick up a lot of stuff and you put it down. And then you went to the military and you say, you know what, I'm not turning back. I'm going through with this one. And it's like all that built you into the person that you are now. And that one time of not turning back really was the probably milestone of like making it all happen. So it's really cool, man. And it's like, I mean, I just want to say that I appreciate you coming on the podcast. I appreciate you coming on here, talking to me, telling everybody your story. And of course, all the information to all your stuff, your sites and your blog, if you would like me to include that and stuff, I can include it below so people can get to that and check that out as well. But before we take off and get up out of here, I'd like to ask you 2 questions. One being, what is your biggest fear?
Yep. My biggest fear is something that is just inevitable. It's going to happen one day. Dang, dude. It's damn. My biggest fear is losing my family.
Okay.
Yep.
I feel like we all can agree on that one for sure. I sort of jumped, you go ahead. I sort of jumped in that, but go ahead.
No, and like, I say that because they're like the most supportive people that you could ever have.
Yeah.
And like, I believe in God and I believe, I'm going to heaven. It's just one of those things that it's going to happen, but I know that I'll eventually get to see them, once all of this is over. But yeah, just the fact of losing people who just mean so much, it's hard to face. It's hard to think about. It's something that I've thought about a lot over the past couple of years. Yeah. So that's definitely my worst fear.
I understand for sure, bro. Kind of caught you off guard on that one. That's my bad.
Yeah, I feel like I cried so much on this freaking podcast.
Bad, bro. My bad, man. It's all good. It's all good. It's real, and that's what they need. My second question would be to you: what's something that Dove now, the current Dove, would say to little Dove whenever he was around 18 or 19? What is something you learned now that you probably would say to your younger self that would be like some words that you wish you would have heard that would have stuck?
Yeah, that's a good one. What I would tell myself would be, and this was the younger Dove with me coming back from Florida that didn't really have a purpose, that didn't really know what to do. What I would tell him is just do something. Don't sit back and wish for things to happen. Don't sit back and not do anything. Get out there. Even if it's a job that you don't think you're going to enjoy, just do it. Like, just do something, because eventually you're going to find something that you absolutely love. Going back to me joining the military and even me working in a hospital, I remember going to dinner and telling my family what I did that day. Like, I wiped some dude's butt. Like, I had a colostomy bag thrown at me from this dude that was going crazy. Like, do you know what a colostomy bag is?
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
bro.
Yeah,
I have one of those.
Did he hit you?
No. Good thing he wasn't a baseball player. But this dude, I mean, he was like Houdini, because we had him like locked to the bed with literal handcuffs, and he got out of them. Literally got out of these handcuffs. I remember walking in, he was screaming down the hall. I could hear him in his room. He was screaming down the hall. And I walked into his room, and all I saw was him rearing back. And I did like I kind of like did a matrix move, but it was still like way over there. But I was just like, I don't know where he's throwing it. I hope he's not throwing it in the direction that I'm going. And then it stuck to the wall, and I'm just like,
man,
I'm like, man, now I got to clean this. This is not good. But it's like things like that. Yeah, that story is like crazy and it sounds disgusting, but I liked it.
Yeah.
Like it was different. And I never thought that I would be in that situation, but it was just something different.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I need to try something.
Yeah.
I don't need to keep working at this landscaping company because I hate it. Okay, let me go to this other job and see if I like it. Okay, I hate that job. Let me go do something else. At one point I worked for a company who sold racing suits. They were a French company, and we would communicate back and forth with the owners in France every day just to like tell them what our sales were, tell them the orders that we needed for like these race car drivers.
Yeah.
And by far, I think that was probably the coolest job that I've ever had, because it was just, you got to meet so many people. But yeah, I would say just try things. You may not think you're going to like it just because you just don't know what it entails, but who knows? You might find out that you absolutely love it. Or if you don't love that part of it, maybe you could get another position within the company that you may fall in love with. But how will you ever know if you don't just go out and try it and go out and do it? So that's what I would tell my younger self.
That's awesome, bro. And I feel that completely, man. That's really awesome. And I definitely appreciate you taking the time out of your, your busy nature.
I'm so busy, man.
Yeah, just
being in the woods.
Being in the woods and enjoying life. I just appreciate you taking out.
I came into town last night because I was so excited. I was like, I'm getting a hotel room. I'm getting to stay in like a nice, comfy, warm bed. And I get to take a shower. Okay, so if you're in the woods and you have to take a shower, and you don't have a shower, take baby wipes. Baby wipes are like a lifesaver. I don't know if you've ever bathed with baby wipes, but they're a lifesaver, especially if you've been in the woods for like 4 or 5 days. I know 4 or 5 days doesn't sound long, but bro,
without a shower,
when you're like, I like working out. And so, working out, sweating, no shower, you kind of get a little stanky.
Yeah.
So take some baby wipes. But one thing I will say, I have taken a shower outside or in a place that is like an outdoor kind of shower. And one thing that you will remember is when you go to like get out of the shower and you don't, because I need to give me some sandals.
Yeah.
Taking a shower. For whatever reason, I don't have shower sandals, but that is like the most nastiest thing, taking a shower and getting out of the shower and trying to like wipe your feet off and like hold one foot up in the air and like dry your feet. But last night when I took a shower at the hotel, I thought, oh man, this is so nice. Like, I'm getting out of the shower. I've got my towel laid down on the ground. Like, how convenient is this? So I feel like we take for granted like a lot of things. But like having a nice towel to step on once you get out of the shower, like you can't beat it,
bro. I feel like I haven't been through what you're saying as far as the showers and stuff like that, but it's like I feel like I can definitely relate, because like going to work, and sweating a little bit, I can only imagine if I had to come home and I couldn't take a shower and had to go back and do the same thing to return. No, man, man.
But this is all. I'm choosing to do this, and exactly. I think it's fun. I think there's going to be a lot of things that I learn on this trip, and like if I want to go back home today, I could go back home. But there's a bigger purpose behind this whole trip, and so I'm just got to rough it.
I understand for sure. Like I really do, but what I do is for anybody that is interested, of course, to seeing his content, because he has a YouTube, he's sharing his journey to everyone and stuff like that. I'll make sure I put the links in the description as well for you guys to for the information to get to that. And again, bro, I really appreciate, you taking the time out and coming out here and just, kicking it with me for one, catching up on a lot of things and just taking the time out to do a podcast with me as well. Because like I said, I feel like a lot of people needed to hear your story as well as just needed to see what you're pushing, because I feel like it's a great thing. And that's all I stand behind, is just try to stand behind great stuff and great movement. And I feel like that's exactly what you got your hands on.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, you got it, bro. But yeah, I guess that'll be the sum of this one right here. And as always, as you guys always know, peace, love, and happiness.